Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so excited to have you here today. Today, you are joining us for the OpenStax and Science Interactive webinar today, and thank you again for taking the time to join us. Um, I see there's so many people who have let us know where they're from. My name is Kissa Thompson, by the way. I'm the presentation specialist here at OpenStax, and I am located in Houston, Texas. And I just want to say hello to the people that are joining us. There's New Brunswick, New Jersey. There's Texas, Ohio, California. I mean, California, Denver. Hello, everyone. Tennessee. Wow, there's so many of you. California, continue to let us know where you are joining us from. I just want to let you know that in the attendees chat, please let us know where you're joining us from as you are doing. You can also use that area to talk some amongst yourself throughout the webinar, but please use the Q&A box if you have questions pertaining to the webinar, and your questions will be answered towards the end. So we're gonna give it like about 10 more seconds as we say hello to a few more people that are still joining us, and then we'll get started. Texas, a lot of people from Texas, Missouri, Atlanta, okay, Nebraska, Louisiana, hello, Michigan, Chicago, I love it, New Mexico, thank you. So I'm gonna get started. Again, my name is Kissa Thompson. I'm a presentation specialist here at OpenStax located in Houston, Texas. And you are joining the OpenStax and Science Interactive webinar today. So most of you probably know what OpenStax is, but if you're new to OpenStax, there are a few key things you'll want to know. First, OpenStax is an educational initiative based out of Rice University, a 501c3 nonprofit organization located in Houston, Texas. OpenStax is a mission-oriented organization, and our mission is to improve educational access and learning for everyone. One of our main area of work is creating a library of openly licensed, peer-reviewed textbooks. These textbooks are available for free online in WebView and PDF formats. Over the last decade, we have become the world's largest publisher of free open education resources. OpenStax had a large impact on students and instructors across the globe. Since publishing our first textbooks in 2012, we have saved 7 million students over 2.9 billion in textbook costs. OpenStax's main area of work is offering over 65 openly licensed textbooks for college and K-12 courses. Over 2,200 colleges in 150 countries are using the OpenStax textbooks. These accomplishments would not have been possible without the support of our OpenStax allies like Science Interactive and instructors like you. All of our books are designed to meet the standard scope and sequence requirements of their respective courses and are written and reviewed by a subject matter expert who are compensated for their work. Each of our books also goes through an extensive peer review process to ensure that the content is up to date, clear to understand, and inclusive and representative of diverse audiences. Our textbooks look like a lot of the other textbooks that are out there. However, unlike textbooks that aren't OER, our textbooks are 100% free and are available under an open license, so instructors can modify, revise, and rearrange the content any way they like. Here at OpenStax, we offer much more than just textbooks. Each of our textbooks come with its own unique suite of free instructors and student resources. These can include test banks, lecture slides, solution guides, LMS course cartridges, and customizable doc files of each book. Accessibility is one of OpenStax's top priority. To make our books as widely available as possible, we offer our textbook for free on our website in an interactive web view format. You can also download the free PDF copies of our textbooks on our website. This option is particularly helpful for students who lack reliable internet access. Since our textbooks are available for free online, students can access our books from day one of class. From our research, we've learned that 10% of students prefer print. We sell our textbooks at a low cost through our Amazon page and campus bookstores. Additionally, our free instructors and student resources are available for free on our website. To protect the academic integrity of our resources, instructors must create an instructor's account to download our instructors' resources. All instructors' account requests are manually verified by our customer support team, ensuring only instructors are using our resources like test banks. As our library of textbooks continue to grow, we're excited to share numerous titles that we will be publishing this spring. We have 8 nursing titles and Introduction to Python programming. If you would like additional information about any of these titles, please reach out to our customer support team via OpenStax website. Here at OpenStax, we know that digital technology is essential for teaching, especially in today's hybrid learning environment, and that finding the right technology for your course can be challenging. We've decided to help streamline this process through partnering with nearly 100 education technology organizations that offer products aligned with each of our textbooks. In exchange for using our content in their products, our technology partners, known as allies, provided us with mission support fee. Ultimately, OpenStax allies enrich OpenStax materials with low-cost, high-value resources to support instructors and students while providing support to OpenStax to keep the books current and accessible. So again, I just want to thank you all for joining us so much, and I'm going to pass this this webinar to Caitlin and Amy. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Kissa, and welcome everyone. We are so excited to have you here today to share with you how you can offer your students engaging and high-quality online laboratory courses through the use of hands-on labs and OpenStax text in combination. My name is Kate Rennie-Janzi, and I am the Chief Academic Officer here at Science Interactive. I have spent the last 9 years working with our team of PhD scientists and instructional designers, as well as graphic designers, to bring hands-on laboratory experiences to students all over the country. I am thrilled today to be joined by Professor Amy Daniels from Greenville Technical College. After serving in the Navy as an IT specialist, Amy completed a Bachelor's of Science from NC State's Geology program and then a Master's in Geology from USC Columbia in 1991. She worked for years in industry as a geoscientist until coming to Greenville Technical College in 2007. She is passionate about teaching and is a member of the Physical Science Department, where she teaches geology, physics, and occasionally computer science classes. Her favorite part of teaching is sparking interest in a student and seeing them engaged in learning. Her philosophy is that teaching is about uncovering the unknown, digging into the details, and getting students to see how those details fit into the bigger picture. She loves seeing her students have aha moments. Amy, thank you so much for joining me today. We're really excited to have you. But before I turn things over to,
sorry.
No, you're good. Before I turn things over to Amy, we wanted to set the stage with some recent data on the state of online laboratory sciences and how Science Interactive can help support you in bringing science laboratory courses online. As many of you may be experiencing on your own campus, student interest in online courses and degree programs continues to increase, and that includes STEM courses. This past fall, Science Interactive launched its first annual lab report, which sought to better understand student and faculty perceptions of online lab science courses. Our survey reached 1,300 students who had taken and 300 faculty who had taught an online science lab within the past year. First, we wanted to understand the importance of online lab courses to students. And among the 1,300 students that we surveyed, 91% stated that it was important for them to be able to take their science lab course online. And this wasn't just because of convenience, although many students did cite this as a factor for pursuing an online program. For many students surveyed, the online modality of taking their labs online really allowed them the chance to have a lab science course included in their curriculum when they otherwise wouldn't have been able to get to campus. And there are a number of reasons for this. That could include living in a rural location, having work or family care obligations, military deployments, or other similar blockers. Additionally, for more traditional students, many of them cited that online labs allowed them to overcome scheduling conflict. So where a student would otherwise have to hold off on taking a lab, the online lab allowed them to stay on track towards their degree completion. But as we all know, there are many challenges that come with bringing a laboratory course online. And we polled our instructors to find out what the biggest challenges they encountered in first bringing their laboratory courses online was. Among the 300 faculty members that we surveyed, there were 3 primary challenges cited. 41% of instructors cited that recreating a hands-on lab experience was the biggest challenge that they encountered. Another 26% cited maintaining quality and rigor of their course materials in the transition to online was their greatest challenge. And then, of course, many faculty members expressed concerns about the cost of a laboratory component for their students. How are they going to get these materials to their students and make sure that it was affordable and not block students from taking their course? But the instructors we surveyed found ways to overcome this. And to do this, we asked them a series of questions to understand how they overcame these challenges. First, when we consider the folks who were challenged by recreating a hands-on laboratory experience, we asked our instructors using hands-on lab kits whether those kits were comparable to an in-person lab experience. And in fact, 71% of instructors found that a hands-on lab kit designed for home use was comparable to that campus experience. Next, when it came to quality and rigor, we asked the instructors whether students using hands-on lab kits were gaining the skills that they needed to pursue their degree, whether they be non-majors, students who are taking a single science course, or major students who are going on to additional courses down the line. And among the instructors we surveyed, 89% found that students did gain the skills they needed for future courses in using the hands-on lab kits. And that number was consistent, looking both at non-majors instructors and majors instructors. Finally, when it came to cost, we asked our students whether the cost of the hands-on lab kit was aligned with the value of the materials in their kit. And 72% of students agreed that the value of the kit was aligned with the cost. But there were other things that our students also highlighted about using the lab kits that benefited their education. In their comments within the survey, students cited that the hands-on lab kits allowed them to really be more engaged with the content that they were learning. It allowed them to engage with the equipment and materials that they would have not been able to had they not been able to go to campus. It allowed them to study and perform the labs at their own pace, and it allowed them to really have an immersive experience in their home environment. And for students who were using laboratory simulations or virtual labs as a component of their course, these students found that there was an ability to repeat the experiments, to really grasp the content over and over until they felt confident to move on to the next topic. Now, I want to touch on virtual simulations briefly before I move on. Instructors and students in our survey also shared that there were benefits to virtual lab simulations within their lab courses. We asked our instructors and our students whether they felt that virtual labs allowed students to gain the knowledge and skills they needed to continue in their education. And 73% of both instructors and students agreed that virtual labs allowed students to gain those knowledge and skills. This was a smaller share of instructors versus the hands-on kits, which I just mentioned were about 89% of faculty who felt that students gained the skills they needed. But even more strikingly, students and faculty both reported that virtual labs helped to make the course more engaging to students, with over 90% of students feeling that the virtual labs really helped increase their engagement in the course. Taking all of this into consideration, you might be wondering how you can deliver a high-quality lab experience to your students, whether they're on campus or they're online. And that's where Science Interactive help. At Science Interactive, we believe that all students, no matter where they are, should have the opportunity to experience a robust, hands-on laboratory experience. We have worked for over 30 years to support science learners across the globe in pursuing their science courses and their science degrees online. And we do this in a number of ways. This includes working with instructors who are teaching exclusively online or hybrid lab courses, where students are receiving laboratory kits to give them the opportunity to do their labs at home, as well as supporting students on campus with our rigorous virtual pre-labs, which allow faculty to maximize their in-person lab time by offloading some of the pre-laboratory work to the virtual platform. Our content library includes over 450 hands-on and digital experiments across 13 disciplines, and we support a number of disciplines ranging from non-majors to majors-based courses. We are very proud of the fact that every single discipline that we offer has achieved Quality Matter certification, and we're excited to share today that we now integrate OpenStax textbooks within 6 of our disciplines, including basic science courses such as biology, chemistry, and physics, as well as some majors-based courses including A&P, microbiology, and organic chemistry. With the integration of OpenStax texts into our lab management platform, we make science content more accessible to our students, really looking to support both the lecture and the lab component of the courses that are being offered online. The combination of OpenStax with Science Interactive is really designed to make courses more affordable for students, easing the financial burden of a textbook cost and allowing students to have that robust hands-on laboratory experience. It's also designed to increase accessibility, bringing together virtual simulations, pre-lab, hands-on labs, as well as textbook into a single source for students, making it really easy for them to access. Finally, with all of our content, it is academically rigorous. We work with a team of PhD scientists, both within our internal team as well as on campus, as well as with Quality Matters to make sure all of our content is achieving those really high benchmarks for academic integrity, and rigor. So let's take a little bit of a look at how the OpenStax integration works within our platform. If you've never seen our platform before, this is our cloud. What you're seeing here is a list of all of the lessons within our demo course today, which is anatomy and physiology. And really what this is designed to do is provide a seamless experience for our students to access their hands-on lab content, their virtual simulations, and OpenStax all in one place. So there's two approaches to giving students access to the OpenStax content. The first is going to be through our instructor notes feature, where our instructors can simply embed and integrate links out to the textbook within the larger course. The second portion of this is within our student menu, where we can work with you as you select your OpenStax textbook to ensure that the appropriate textbook is embedded directly into that course. Students can simply click the menu and go directly to their textbook that pairs with their course. And that's something that we can set up as we are designing what your course looks like. If you've not seen what a Science Interactive Lab looks like before, these are divided into three sections: an exploration section, which provides students with background content and background materials; an experimentation section that allows students to go through all of the individual protocols, work with the hands-on materials, perform the digital labs, and record and interpret their data, as well as an evaluation that tests students' achievement of the learning objectives of that lab. Within each lab, we are going to provide careful guidance for students in terms of how much time they should allocate to performing the labs, as well as the learning objectives that they're expected to achieve, both within the exploration and the experimentation. And throughout each individual lab, there's opportunity to expand for the students their access to the OpenStax textbooks using our instructor note feature. And so what we've done here is we're going to go briefly through our digestive system lab today and how one of our instructors has incorporated some of the OpenStax content into their lab. So the first exercise we're going to look at here is our histology of digestive structures in this experiment that students are going to be using microscopy to analyze some slides, whether that be with our virtual microscope, our V-scope, which is pictured here, or with the physical microscope and slides that they may have at home. And what we've done here is we've paired together a classic semester 1 A&P concept that's revisited in semester 2. So for our students here, they encounter their procedure for the histology of digestive structures. And in the middle of that, there's a call out for the student, reflecting them back to chapter 4 of their OpenStax text, where they've learned about different tissue types. It's likely when a student encounters this, it's been many months since they reviewed that content. Now they have a quick reference back to their textbook. They can go directly back there, revisit the concept, and proceed with their lab with confidence that they know what the different tissue types are and what they're looking at under the microscope. The OpenStax textbooks can also pair well with our other digital labs. So we have students work with our virtual human body model. They have the opportunity to take a look at the body. They can reflect back to their OpenStax textbook, review what the different organs do within the digestive system, and use that to supplement their knowledge as they're working through the virtual simulation in the digestive system. Finally, we also pair our OpenStax textbook with our lab curriculum and hands-on activities. So this is one of our dissections, our fetal pig dissection, which occurs in is used in most of our A&P labs. Here, students are exploring the structure of the digestive system of the fetal pig. As they're working through the lab, they're going to see their procedures. They're going to see supplemental videos and supplemental photos that guide them through the activity, as well as links out to their OpenStax textbook, once again, bringing them to revisit the different concepts, the different organs that are going to be involved in the digestive system that they're viewing within the fetal pig, with reminders of what those structures do, why they're so important to the anatomy of the pig, and what their impact is on the physiology of the pig. And so really what we strive to do with this approach is really bring an all-in-one solution to our faculty members with our combination of hands-on labs, virtual simulations, and our OpenStax textbooks directly embedded within our content. Now, to take that one step further, we also support LMS integration through LTI. So any of the content you see here can be directly integrated into your learning management system alongside the OpenStax textbook for easy access to your students for a truly all-in-one opportunity to bring your students virtual, hands-on, and a textbook. So with all of that being said, I am so happy to turn things over to Amy to share her experience with using open textbooks in her classes. Amy, passing it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Caitlin. And thanks to OpenStax and Science Interactive for inviting me. I've been using Science Interactive now for several years in a Geology 101 course that I teach. I use an open resource for that class. And currently I'm running 2 sections a semester for all 3 semesters of the year. I teach this class online primarily, but I have taught it face-to-face, not so much since COVID. Our face-to-face enrollment actually took a nosedive and really hasn't regained pre-COVID status. But when I taught it face-to-face, I also used the same Science Interactive lab. These students enrolled in geology and my physics course, which I also teach with OpenStax. They come from a lot of different programs across the campus, both our general associate's degree program and some of our programmatic programs such as mechatronics, welding, and some of our health majors like sonography and so forth. So, it's really nice that you can use this technology to reach out across the campus to so many students and give them exposure to the ability to do lab work at home in their own space, in their own time. Did I skip one? Yes, okay. So part of the reason that I initially chose Science Interactive is that the quality of the material, the quality of the interface, the quality of all the experiences that the students were having with the platform and with the kits was probably in excess of the quality that I had offered before, because the materials in the kit were so, they were above and beyond what we could really afford to set up here at the campus. Greenville Tech is a small community two-year college, and we have, chemistry and physics labs, but when I developed the geology lab, I didn't have a budget at all. And so there were not any existing materials to use, and I was trying to put things together from our physics and chemistry lab equipment. But when I found hands-on labs, at the time it wasn't Science Interactive, it was hands-on labs, and I ordered the kit, I was just kind of blown away. And then when I visited their online platform, again, I was very impressed with the quality of the material. And after starting to use this with my students, I realized that they got a huge benefit from having that material be very, very supportive of their learning objectives, because every part of the course has a set of learning objectives, every chapter, every unit, and these labs and the materials align so perfectly with what I had in the course already. So, and then add that to the LMS integration, and it was a complete winner for me. And the cost was very modest compared to the cost of a publisher-based textbook, and then the cost of a lab on top of that. So by the time I had converted this class over, the students were actually saving money and getting better materials. So another important thing for me was that the student experienced the same sort of 3-hour lab that they would have had when we taught it face-to-face. And indeed, even when I taught it face-to-face, it took up the whole 3 hours to do the lab. So that was important, because, we kind of get measured on, how well we meet the seat time for our class. The content, like I was saying, of the materials that the students learn to help, use to help them learn, was really excellent. And so, like I said, I used it in my face-to-face course. When we had face-to-face lab meetings, they would bring their kits or the parts of the kits for that day to the class, and we would go through the lab materials together. But I think even when they were doing it on their own, the content is so rich that, they didn't have much difficulty. And what small things that they did have difficulty with, I was able to address, using feedback. There was a comment there from one of the students that they really like seeing and holding the rocks. That in geology, an important part of their learning is the tactile part, where they get to touch the rocks and they get to weigh them and they get to, do this density analysis and stuff. And that really helps them learning the material, because it's one thing to say, oh, well, basalt is more dense than granite, but until you kind of hold it in your hands, you don't get that sense of it, So, this has been a really great experience for me using these labs. And as I said before, using it in the face-to-face class also helps me be consistent. So it's not a different experience for my students if they're coming in the classroom or if they're doing it at home, because the material is the same, the kits are the same. So there's no advantage, and maybe this is one reason why my face-to-face section hasn't really thrived. I'm working on ways to improve that, but students are very happy and pleased with it, and I get good reviews. So, strategies for success. So yeah, the integration part, the LTI integration part really, really does help me. It allows me to do the grading on the Science Interactive website, and those grades transfer directly over. Students can see their grades on both ends, and it helps when I integrate it into Blackboard, their grade updates, whenever I update it in Science Interactive. So that's a huge help. And then each chapter has a related lab. That's also very important to me, that they get, that interaction in the lab for every chapter. And Greenville Tech is Quality Matters certified. We have all brought our courses up to Quality Matters standards, and that's also a very important part of our course design. So the fact that Science Interactive is Quality Matters really matters to me. After hearing that you guys were integrating OpenStax into the platform, I was pretty excited. All my courses are taught using OER. I feel like the benefit for the student is very obvious. And so I immediately felt that the most important part of that to me was when they're doing their labs, they get the benefit of seeing the textbook material that relates to the lab. And it really does help to bring those things together, because they get a lot more content from the textbook, but it's paralleled, in the lab. So, I feel like having that quick access, plus they don't have to log into two places. They click on the lab platform and they have their book there, they have the lab there. And I think it's going to really, really improve the learning quite a bit. And they can also kind of relate to it as they're going through their text material and they're going through their lab material. They can see how the two relate. And I think that's going to be a big improvement for us. I think now I hand it back over to Caitlin.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. So we hope that you have, through the process of our presentation, learned a little bit more about how you can reach your students with hands-on lab experiments, virtual simulations, as well as our integrated OpenStax textbooks, which we are so happy to be launching. We are happy to take any questions that you may have. I see a number of questions that have already come in. So we will get the ball rolling there. So the first question I have, Amy, is how did you go through the process of selecting the labs that you used in your course?
So it's actually quite easy with Science Interactive. And even in the early times when it was hands-on labs, they gave, me a copy of everything. And I looked through the material. They gave me an example of the kit. I looked at everything. And then, I got similar kits from other providers. I won't list their names. But again, the quality of the material and so forth from Science Interactive was just so many bars above. And so I immediately, when I looked at their offering for geology, I mean, literally chapter by chapter by chapter, they had all the labs I needed. And some that I didn't use, but could have used, but I didn't want to overwhelm the students because I have 14 weeks and I think they had something like 17 or 18 different things that you could do. So I picked the ones that I thought best aligned with my course learning objectives.
Awesome. So another question we have that came in is, what if your students are missing an item in their kit or they lose it through the semester? How is that? How do they handle that? Why don't you start with that and I'll share a little bit more as well.
Happen. I mean, humans are fallible and humans put together these kits. Sometimes there are things left out. My students contact the 24/7 customer support. They can leave either an email or they can chat online. And my students have found that they, got shipped their missing item in a timely enough fashion that they could finish their lab. I also, when they tell me that, I also say, okay, you have an extra however many days to complete the lab. I keep in contact with them so I know, when they get their missing item.
Absolutely. And from the Science Interactive side, if a student ever loses an item halfway through the semester, if they are performing their experiment and they spill something, they need a new one, we are always happy to provide a replacement item for the student. So we know that students are learning, they make mistakes, and we're happy to make sure they're back up and running so they can achieve their learning outcomes in their course and make sure they're able to successfully complete their labs. Amy, can you talk a little bit about how safety is handled in your course?
Yes, the kits come with all the safety equipment that they need. Typically for the geology kit, it's like gloves, eye protection, a few other items. I think there might have been some sort of thing to mop up a spill with. And then the first two labs, I have to say that we have just started to do this inclusive access process where when the student enrolls in the class, they can opt in or out of inclusive access. And then it takes maybe a week or two for them to get their lab kits. So the first two labs that we do, they don't require anything from the kit. They have an introduction to the platform and also a lab safety lab. And so the whole lab itself is about lab safety, and it goes in a lot of detail about how to safely perform the lab and all the materials that they need to do that.
Awesome. Yeah, and from our end, for courses that involve dissection specimens, for courses that involve chemicals like chemistry. So another question that around disposal, we provide for our students within the content, like Amy mentioned, all of the PPE they will need, safety instructions, disposal instructions for students. In addition to that, one of our primary labs that students have to complete before they can access any other content within our platform is that safety lab. They cannot move forward until it's completed and submitted. As part of that, they're going to read through and sign a safety contract to ensure that they have read the rules of the lab and ensuring that they can successfully complete those experiments safely, and they have to submit that before they can proceed into the labs. And of course, we provide safety supports throughout whenever there is a protocol of where students may need a little bit more guidance to ensure that they can do that effectively. Okay, our next question. We've had a couple of questions around have you taught using simulations in your course, and how does your school approach simulations versus hands-on activities in their lab courses?
No, I have not. I don't have really a call for that. The closest I would say is that they do a few labs in Google Earth Pro, which they all rave about. But no, I don't have any like virtual microscopes or anything like that in geology. You know, there are some virtual, and this is just a note for the Science Interactive people, there are some virtual microscopic things from Harvard, I think, that could be incorporated in there. And I've put them in Blackboard, but yeah, I don't use that as a part of the lab.
Yeah, I can talk to you a little bit about some of our others. So when we are bringing in our digital labs, most of our digital offerings, our virtual lab simulations do have an equivalent hands-on labs. And we find that most instructors don't go with a purely virtual approach to their lab course. What we find is most instructors have a key set of labs that they are looking to have their students perform hands-on. They're part of the course objectives, and then they supplement other concepts with the virtual to maintain sort of that balance of being cognizant of the cost for the student and having that hands-on experience. And I've seen a couple of questions come in around cost, and I'm happy to share a little bit more there. Cost of the kits really is going to depend on the discipline, the number of labs you select, and whether those labs be virtual or hands-on. Our team is happy to work with you to price out what that kit would be given the best alignment to your syllabus. We really to take a customized approach to make sure that you're only getting the labs that are going to best fit with your course, with your syllabus, and your learning outcomes for your students. Let's see, we have, so I'm not sure if you've done this, Amy. Have you taught a short kit, a short course before using a kit, like an 8-week course or something sort of outside the traditional semester?
No, I have not. I don't even understand the question.
So, Shanti, I know we do have faculty members who have taught shorter courses using the kit, and it can be incorporated in there. And certainly we'd be happy to discuss with you further how that can look like for a shorter course.
As a note, I teach, I'm sorry, but I teach the 14-week
go ahead, Amy, please do.
I teach the 14-week class over the summer in 10 weeks, and I just compress everything into the 10 weeks. They don't get a break.
Okay, let's see. I think we've got time for maybe 2 more questions here. We have a question here about liability and the legality for students. So I'm happy to share a little bit about that. For the lab kits, when using the labs that our team has written, Science Interactive does cover all liability to ensure that, you know, we provide safety guidelines, we provide all of the information students need to complete these successfully. If anything should ever happen in the process of performing a lab while following the protocols we've written, that liability is going to be handled by us. And then I think one more question here, Amy, and I know you have some thoughts on transferability. How have you seen the lab kits transfer for your students, for students who have taken that remote distance learning lab?
I've had no problems. 100% of the people, well, first we have articulation already set up with colleges in our region. That includes USC, both USC Upstate and USC in Columbia, and Clemson, and a few of the other ones like Anderson College. When other colleges have requested information and I've sent them information back, there was no problem getting the full credit for it. And we list it as a part of our transferable 4-credit-hour lab science. And I believe at this time it's the only one that we offer that's fully online that transfers to the 4-year colleges.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you all so much for all of your questions. Kissa, we're going to turn things back on over to you.
Great. Thank you so, so much. This was an amazing webinar. I'm sure everyone who joined us today enjoyed it just as much as I did. I want to thank everyone for spending time with us today. Caitlin and Amy, you guys are great. Thank you for having an amazing webinar and for being a wonderful OpenStack ally. And if anyone has any further question, please contact Science Interactive directly or OpenStax, and we will answer any questions. We love helping you any way we can. We look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. And thank you again for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.